Hello, children. It's story time again. And this time, I'm going to tell you one of my favorite stories. The story of how I met Yodel Elf. It all happened long ago. I was taking Snowy for a walk in the snow, and we always walked along the same path every morning. And sometimes I would see huge footprints in the snow. Oh, well, I often wondered if these footprints could be that of a Yeti. But then I would tell myself that no, that's not possible because we're in the North Pole and everything is magical and nice. And you don't have monsters like that here. Well, the more I thought about these footprints, the more I wanted to find out who they belonged to. So one day, with Snowy by my side, I decided to follow them. We followed them for miles, when all of a sudden, the weather began to change. The once blue sky suddenly turned dark and stormy, and it began to snow very hard indeed. Soon I realized we were lost. Snowy, I said with a little tremor in my voice, I think I'll have to call Rudolph. I asked him to come rescue us. That's what I'll do, yes. And so I reached into my pocket and got out my mobile phone. But when I dialed the number, to my dismay, there was no signal. The storm had started to brew and all communications were temporarily lost. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? He couldn't hear me now. Oh dear, what was I going to do? It had become so cold and the snow blizzard made it impossible to see around me. I'm so sorry, Snowy, I said with a shiver. We're lost. And the only thing we can do is wait till the storm is over. That's all we can do. So Snowy and I laid down in the snow. We huddled together for warmth. Would the storm pass soon? Would we survive through the night? I didn't know. Although I was afraid and shivered with cold, I soon fell asleep with Snowy by my side. Then I awoke. Well, to my surprise, I found that we were no longer outside in the snow, but under a big, fluffy blanket. Inside, next to a huge, roaring fire. Beside the hearth stood 2 cups of steaming hot cocoa, Santa's favorite. Thankfully, someone had been very, very, very kind to us and found us. Well, yes, and it saved our lives. But who could it be, and how did it get us here? Well, just then, a big, cheerful-looking monster appeared before us and said, "Good morning, Santa. I'm Yodel." So it was he who had saved our lives. Then he told me that he lived by himself and he did not have a family of his own. Well, I felt so sorry for him. He must be so lonely, I thought. Then suddenly, Snowy ran over to him and started licking him with affection. "He's made of ice cream," Snowy barked. His tail began to wiggle with excitement. Imagine my surprise. Before I could ask him why he lived alone, Yodel told me when I was a little boy, that Santa forgot. That because every year he never gets a present from Santa, so Santa had to forget. Well, I was so ashamed because I did not know who Yodel was. I told Yodel that this year I would not forget him, and on Christmas Eve I would bring him a very special present. Yes. Just then I looked up in the sky. The storm had passed, and I could see Rudolph. He had a red nose. He had come looking for us, and Yodel became scared and ran away before we could tell him it was okay to stay and to thank him. Well, Rudolph landed, and both Snowy and I climbed into the sleigh with a sigh before flying home safely back to the North Pole. All the way home, I kept thinking of Yodel. So when we landed, I went to the head elf, and I said to him, whispering in his ear, "We have to make something special for Yodel." Well, Christmas Eve arrived, and after delivering all the presents, I then flew off to see Yodel. As I flew over the ice cap, I could see that he was sitting down there all alone. As I landed, "Merry Christmas, Yodel." "Oh, Santa, Where is my present? Your sleigh is empty. You forgot me again. He said so sadly. I said, no, Yodel. I told you that I would have a very special present for you this year. But it was too big to carry on the sleigh, so jump on aboard and I'll take you to see it. So we landed in the North Pole and the head elf ran over to greet us. Yodel's present is finished, he explained excitedly. Come and see. Well, we followed him around the corner, and there it was, an ice castle for Yodel to live in. Oh, he would never be alone again. He'd become part of our family in Santa's village and live happily ever after in Santa Live now. Yodel started to cry with happiness. Oh, Santa, I'm so happy. I've always wanted to be part of a family. Geez. Now I have a family, my dear friend. I assured him, from this day forth, you'd be known as Yodel Elf. And from that day, it has been wonderful to have Yodel around, especially for the elves who visit his ice cream castle every day. And they try out a new brand of ice cream that Yodel made, and it's called Yodel Elf Treat. Merry Christmas, boys and girls. That's how I met Yodel.